Hey all, Tom Moran here from Tom's Big Spider. So as you've probably deduced by the title, in this episode we're going to be taking a look at the Acanthoscurria musculosa, or Brazilian black velvet. I absolutely love this spider, and I love it even more after this rehousing. I think you'll agree when you see the actual footage we got of it. And stay tuned to the end, because Billy and I did something we normally don't do. We put her in the enclosure. I talked about the fact I hadn't fed her after she molted, so we dropped a few crickets in and got some footage there. But I absolutely love this spider. It's one I picked up a while back, and you'll see the general theme of this species is the fact it grows very, very quickly, and I'll mention it here. I mentioned it in the video as well. I wish they were more readily available, because this would be a go-to for me for folks who wanted to know what a good beginner sling would be, because I think this could be a good beginner species. And I think because of the fact they grow so quickly, it would be a good spider for somebody to start with who just wanted to raise up their first sling. It's very, very hardy, eats great, grows super fast, does some burrowing, but is out in the open. Just got and a beautiful spider. So it just has a lot going for it. So enough of me talking. Let's take a look at A. musculosa, or the Brazilian black velvet spider. All right, we're going to rehouse my Acanthoscurria musculosa, or Brazilian black velvet, or Bolivian black velvet. We'll get into that toward the end of this video, because there are some questions as to whether this is the true musculosa or another species that looks almost exactly the same. I picked this one up as a sling in early 2018. It was about a ½ an inch at the time. It was in a large dram vial, and it was so small and had burrowed so deep that I couldn't even find it in the actual substrate for quite a while. As a matter of fact, in the pet store, when I was looking at it, we were holding up trying to find where the spider was, because I didn't want to buy a vial of dirt and find out there was no spider in it. But it proved to not be an issue, because this thing ate great and grew super fast. And that's going to be the story of today, because I realized while going through my notes and figuring out how many times I rehoused this one, I've rehoused it like, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be the 5th time I've rehoused it. And it was only because I wasn't expecting the growth rate of it. It put on massive size. So the next time we rehoused it, it was into, I think it was around an 1.5 inches or 3.8 centimeters. And we moved it into one of those hinge top M design containers, the smaller ones that I use. They're about 6.5 inches by 3.5 inches by 5.75 inches, or 16.5 by 9 by 14.6 centimeters. And that was in November 11th of 2018. So about, I think it was like not even, maybe 6 months later, we ended up rehousing, because it had already put on so much size. Then, as I'm looking through the videos, I found out I moved her again in June of 2019, this time into a 1-gallon Systema enclosure, because again, she was outgrowing. You think I would have picked it up by now that she was growing super fast and I should just put her in something bigger. We moved her into that one. At that point, she was around 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters. Then we have what's this one here, which is one of the M design enclosures I like, that apparently they're not making anymore, which drives me absolutely nuts, because every time I find an M design enclosure I like, they discontinue it. But this one here measures 12.75 inches by 7.25 inches by 7 inches high, or 32.3 by 18.4 by 18 centimeters high. This one here, she had burrowed as a sling. She burrowed in her second enclosure until there wasn't enough room to do so. The next enclosure, there wasn't enough room to burrow, but when I put her into this one here, as you can see, she's had a burrow for quite some time. She's very visible. Now, I'm going to be saying during the course of this video, she continues to burrow. I expect her to continue to burrow in the next enclosure I'm putting her in, but she's always out in the open. She hunts out in the open. She'll come out and grab crickets from out here, so I see her quite a bit. So that was in 2021. She went into this one. Unfortunately, I didn't record it. I thought I had a video of it. I couldn't find one. I was actually searching my own YouTube channel, trying to see, did we record it? It might have been one of those deals where, oh, Billy's taking off my tag to let me know that they molted. I use the, this is why people ask me my system for when they molt. So I keep an eye on them, because I know to wait a week or so and then try to feed them. I take a piece of wrapping paper and stick it on here so it stands out. I do have to get sticky notes. I've been meaning to ask you for that. I used to use sticky notes for this. I lost all my sticky notes, but that's what I would do to kind of color code when I had to, because I feed everything. I have so many of them. I like to stick something on it that let me know that, all right, within a week or so, check on it again, see if it's ready to eat. Because as you can see, if you look in here, this one did just molt. There's the molt. I haven't taken it out yet. And for those of you who freak out because the molt's still in there, they do not harm the spider. We get this every single time. So now what we're going to be putting her into is her in an adult enclosure over here. This is one of these plastic containers I get off Amazon. I will put a link, because they do sell them. They work great. My buddy Charles turned me on to these. They're basically plastic containers. You buy them, they're plastic boxes. What I do is I glue on rather sloppily. I think this was the first one I did. I buy the acrylic hasps and the acrylic hinges over here. You can buy the acrylic cement, or you can even use super glue will work. Just know if you spill the super glue, it will kind of fuzz out. And as you can see here, I went nuts with the glue and got it everywhere. But basically, you can turn them into a very nice tarantula enclosure. Drill the holes. I have holes there, holes there, holes there. This one measures 12.5 inches long by 8.5 inches by 8.5 inches, or 31.75 by 21.5 by 21.5 centimeters. I have several of these. I love them. You can buy them by themselves, but the best deal, I think it's around $90 for 4 of them. And I think it's really well worth it. For $100, or maybe just over $100, you can have 4 of these enclosures set up. They're wonderful for smaller terrestrial or even fossorial species because they can go in there and dig. Now, this one here, talking about the growth rate, obviously, this one is full grown now. She went, oh gosh, I think like 3 years between molts, which usually means it's an adult female at this point. She put on a little bit of size, but I figure she's pretty much full grown at about 5 inches or 12.7 centimeters or so. So this enclosure here, the way I have it set up, if Billy will pan out a little bit, we have several inches, about 5 inches of substrate. Most of the bottom levels are moist. And then what I do is I put a layer of dry substrate up top, some green sphagnum moss, some leaf litter. She will get a water dish. Not this. I have a better one. I'm going to put this one in temporarily, but we have a better one in the garage. And what I'm hoping is that with the moist levels on the bottom, that'll encourage her to kind of burrow and dig down to the moisture level she needs. Now, this is a species as a sling. I kept the sling moist as a juvenile. I kept part of the substrate moist at all time, most of the lower levels. Same thing when she, as an adult, I basically moisten down so the bottom level is moist. Let it dry out a little bit, and then add more moisture. Is this probably the type of spider that could live in dry substrate once it's a juvenile or an adult? I'm guessing it probably could, but she hasn't shown any aversion to the moisture, so I want to make sure that she has it in there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to rehouse her from here to here, and hopefully it goes well. Okay. Now I got to see how to do this, that she's not going to end up going underneath here, which is going to turn this into a fiasco. So let's grab the big brush. Let's do it this way. Oh, all right. We'll do it that way. I get the little scramble. Oh, no. Oh, there we go. This one has never kicked a hair.
Famous last words.
Yeah, I know, really. Here we go. Never kicked a hair until now. She will now. Again, very visible and just a beautiful spider. I love the striping on the knees. I love the coloration. It's kind of a chocolatey sometimes they get like a reddish tone to her. For a little while, she had a reddish tone, which is odd because it's called the Brazilian black velvet. Not really a black spider. So let's go ahead and slip this under here. There we go. Come on. There you go. There you go.
Oh, what a good girl.
Yeah, this one's been really kind of excited to get her into something a little larger. All right, girl. What we're going to do is we're going to just poke your bum. I'm hoping she stays out because I have a couple more things to say before she disappears, but I did catch a little bit of footage of her. Probably not as good as, I'm not going to say probably not as good as the footage you'd normally get, but we do got some footage of her just kind of sitting out there.
What a good girl.
Perfect. And if you look at the striping, there's almost like a salmon color to it. And she did what I do is I feed them when they molt, before I rehouse them, I go ahead and feed them. I did not feed this one. I wanted to get her into the new house, but this is looking like a good size for her. And I'm hoping what's going to happen is she's going to go ahead and do some excavating in here. If the reason why we put the dry substrate on top is because if they have an aversion to moist substrate, a lot of them, even though they'll dig down to the moist substrate, they don't like to stand on it on the surface. This way, what we got is dry substrate. So God forbid, she's like, nope, I don't want the moist stuff on the bottom. She has dry places to sit until things dry out. And then we'll obviously let this, I don't know if you can see. Wow, you can't. Most of it is moist. This isn't overly moist. I want to make it very, very clear. Oh, there we go. This is the dry stuff on top. Usually I try to do more of it, but this stuff is just moist enough that if you grip it and hold on to it, it'll stick together. It'll clump up, but it won't. You can't squeeze water on. That's usually how I like my moist substrate. So notes about this one. Growth rate. Again, that's the theme of this video. If you can find these guys, this is a species that sometimes we do the one and done. Like this one, I picked up just one. They only had one. If I were to do it again, I would probably buy 3 because they grow so quickly. I got a funny feeling that if you get a male within a year or 2, you're going to have a mature male. So if you're trying to get a female, maybe grab a few of them. I haven't seen them offered all that much, which really kind of stinks because they're amazing spiders and would probably make, from my experiences, an excellent beginner species. They grow quickly. They eat great. You get a little bit of the burrowing, but they're out in the open. As you can see, out in the open. She was out in the open before. A lot to love about this spider, right up there with its cousin, Acanthoscurria geniculata, without the potentially the attitude you get, which the attitude for the geniculata is really just an awesome feeding response. But very fast growing. The temperatures, when we got her originally, that's when we were at the old house. So the temperatures in the summertime were like mid to high 70s, in the wintertime, right around the, low 70s or so. Here, wintertime, it's set at 73 degrees. The shelf she's on stays right around 73 degrees. It'll dip below that, and know that she would grow well if it dipped down into the 60s. And then in the summertime, it is high 70s to even mid 80s up here. And I haven't seen any real difference in the growth rate depending on the temperatures it's at. So there we go. A musculosa. I feel like we got the husbandry down. Dram vial as a baby, but this is one that, if considering how fast it grew, you can probably get away with putting it in something a little bit bigger. Had I know how fast this one was going to grow, I would have put it into probably a 20-ounce deli cup, 16-ounce deli cup. But a dram vial when they're super small, then probably into something a little bit bigger. Then this is a species that you could probably easily, at 2.5, 3 inches, drop into an adult enclosure because it's going to fill that adult enclosure up rather quickly. So great eaters, fast growing, beautiful spiders. Oh, and then one note, the last time I posted this up, I had somebody come on and they were talking about why they don't look very black for a spider that's called the black velvet. They noted that some in the hobby think that the A. musculosa that's been in the hobby is actually, or can actually be, a misidentified A. insubtilis, which is a species from Bolivia where if you look up pictures of them, they look identical. I think some people probably don't know what they have. It's one of those ones that I'm not sure how to differentiate which species I have. I would be absolutely tickled if it were an insubtilis, because those of you that have been following my channel for a long time know that the first spider I ever lost was an insubtilis. It was one that ended up DKS because unfortunately we were using topical flea and tick on my dogs. I pet the dogs, handled the cricket, dropped it in, and I ended up with a horrible situation in a dead spider. It still bothers me to date. So to know that I actually have that spider back, because I'd never found another one after that, would be great. So just a heads up there that the two species look very similar, and I'm guessing from what I've read, both of them are very, very similar in terms of growth rate and care. So that will do it now. And Acanthoscurria musculosa, the Brazilian black velvet, or possibly the Acanthoscurria insubtilis, the Bolivian black velvet. If you can find these guys out there, I would encourage folks to grab them up. All right, so as I said, normally this would be where I do my afterthoughts and talk a little bit about it, but let's take a break for a second and just take a look at what ended up happening after we originally stopped the camera and then went back and decided to try to feed her.
Ooh.
Whoop.
Holy Moses.
And one more. Maybe one more.
4?
She's a big girl.
Burrito. Like a burrito.
One more. No, I should have dropped in a big old male dubia for her, but oh, actually, you know what? She put on a great deal. This probably, I wasn't going to put commentary. I was going to put this on when I do my outro, but maybe we'll just add this on the end and I'll mention it. She put on a great deal of size with that last molt. I thought that was it. It took her a while. Oh, you're not mic'd. You took your mic off, so anything you're saying right now.
Oh, it's okay.
Looking big, looking beautiful. So So she's made herself a cricket burrito and she's been eating. She actually, after she ate, went right down into her burrow, which is fantastic. I do want to see how much burrowing she will do. But again, I'm not worried about not seeing her because even when I've given her the space to burrow, which unfortunately, not the last container she was in, but the one before that, there wasn't enough room to burrow. When I give her enough room, she's always out in the open. So again, this will be the third time I mention it, but I always like to drive home my points. If you find these guys, I would highly encourage folks to pick them up. Awesome spiders. I would encourage you to pick up more than one because as I stated in the video, I'm guessing that if females can go from, half an inch to 4 inches in a couple years, the males can probably mature out rather early. And it is a good sized spider. Like when Billy and I went and fed it afterwards, I was really impressed by how much size she actually put on during this molt. Usually adult females, when they get to that point where they're almost completely full grown, the molts take years in between and they don't put on a lot of size with those molts. This one completely bucked that trend because it looks like she put on at least a good half an inch or so, which is pretty big for what was already an adult female. So awesome spiders. Definitely, if anybody has them, please chime in. I got a funny feeling, unfortunately, this will be one of the videos where most folks have either never heard of them, have never seen them out and about, but I'm hoping some of you guys out there will have them, that have them will chime in and tell me about. So that will do it for this one. As always, if you liked it, you can subscribe. It's right up there. You can click on the videos over here. I'll put the other videos I had of this spider. If you take the time to comment, I'll take the time to respond. Just know I am behind right now. I'm back at school. I'm trying to keep up with the videos and trying to keep up with the comments. I'm terribly behind, but I will get to them eventually. Guys, I appreciate you watching. Take care of yourselves. We'll catch you all next time.